All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Valadez. I'm the project manager for Fire Safe Council, and today, welcome to Firewise 101. Today, we'll be going over how to prepare for renewals, what you should be looking for your 3-year, your 5-year renewals if you're at that point, and what you should be looking for your annual renewals as well. As usual, the Firewise 101 sessions are half informational and then half for questions and any sort of discussions about the topic and anything Firewise as well. So yeah, let's get started. So first, I want to go over some housekeeping things. So these sessions are posted to YouTube now, and they have been for a while. You can look at our archive on youtube.com/@FFC for Monterey County. And then we have, as I mentioned, Firewise office hours at the end of the session. You can check out our Instagram. I'm trying to be a little bit more active on there. I posted some things about the timber fire as well. And yeah, just keeping everyone updated about any sessions as well. And I'll repost from any partner organizations as well. And some community events I wanted to bring attention to in this session is in the next 2 days, on August 19th, 2026 at 5 p.m., the California Department of Insurance will be having a statewide insurance market update. So you can use this link here. And I'll also be providing these slides that have the active links to all your emails since you have registered, I have that information to send that out to you, and you'll get a copy of all of this so you can register for any sessions that interest you in the next couple days/weeks. Also on August 25th at 1 p.m., the Wildfire Risk Reduction and Asset Protection Program working group from United Policyholders will be hosting their monthly session. I think they have an insurance company. They might be a private presenting on their insurance offerings, wildfire insurance offerings. And also on the last Thursday of the month, as usual, Fire Safe Council will be hosting their monthly board meeting at 10:30 a.m. And since we have kind of a mid-sized group today, I would like everyone to wait till the end for questions, or you can drop them in the chat as they come up. And then when the Q&A portion of the session comes up, I can answer any of those questions. And then just a reminder, turn off your camera if you would not like to be recorded and posted publicly on YouTube. And there's also a post-meeting survey when the session is done. It's totally optional, but greatly appreciated for formulating these sessions and getting any feedback. And for the office hours section, please use the hand raising feature if possible, or go off mute, and I'll maybe notice you when we're going through any questions. And if you have a lot of questions, just be mindful of everyone's time. You can feel free to contact me at genv.fscmc@gmail.com, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, or reach out to the regional Firewise coordinator, just firewise.ffcmc@gmail.com. All right, so I kind of wanted to start with some community roles, kind of setting the scene for renewals and how that looks like. So really residents drive that effort. So driving any of the communication between neighbors, getting involved, working on the steps for Firewise, formulating the summary for renewals, or summary for action plans and risk assessments. And also as part of the community coming to these sessions and asking for any assistance when needed, any technical assistance, any reviewing needs, if so. And yeah, part of that, the Fire Safe Council is really here to provide guidance for the program. It's not necessarily our program, but we really support it and believe in the program that the National Fire Protection Association has pioneered for California. And the program's mission is really in line with the Fire Safe Council's mission. And fire authorities such as, the Monterey County Regional, CAL FIRE, etc., really are there to assist in risk assessments if possible, if time allows. It's been fortunately a busy fire season. So building partnerships can help provide some wildfire expertise when needed, any expertise in evacuation, any expertise in kind of wildfire behavior as well. And also they're there to support Firewise communities. You know, when you submit your application, the first group it goes to is CAL FIRE. So they're there to review it before it goes to NFPA for the final approval and sending over the certifications. And if you are already a Firewise community, you've gone through all of these steps and you're kind of really revisiting and reviewing some of these and trying to and seeing if you're in line with everything that you've committed yourself to as a Firewise community. So we're here at really the last step, applying online and renewing and kind of reviewing these and seeing if anything still fits, if anything needs updating. So yeah, these are the 6 kind of core steps when becoming a Firewise community. So with that, I wanted to kind of dive into the agenda, what today will look like. So we'll go over a pre-meeting survey, also just kind of getting the lay of the land, see who's here with us, anyone who's not a Firewise member, who's a resident leader, who's partner organization, etc. And then accessing your renewal, making sure you have access to that. There's been change in leadership. How can you change that, etc. And then renewal overview, we'll review what you need for each year, every 3 years, every 5 years. And then I put together a short kind of resource summary that you could use to reference whenever you're sitting down and going through all the documentation. And then we'll open up for office hours. So I want to launch, the short 4-question pre-meeting survey. It is anonymous and totally optional, but it is appreciated to see where we're at and who's attending these meetings. So I just launched that. It is just 4 questions, again, optional, and yeah. I think I'll leave it up for about 1.5 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and keep going through the content. Okay, I'll leave the poll open for a little bit longer, but it seems like almost everyone's done answering it. I see, majority are already recognized Firewise sites, which makes sense if we're going through renewals and seeing that be done. Okay. So I will just end this so you can keep going. Yeah, it seems like majority are split between annual Firewise renewals and 3- and 5-year renewals. So yeah, we'll cover all of that today. Thank you all for answering that. Moving on. So I want to start first having access to the portal. So I just wanted to add this link here. All of you might already, or most likely already be able to. So this is the portal that you will use to, access your initial application, but also log in and, to submit the annual renewal. So for every year, renewals, you'll have to host an outreach event, either doing a joint event. I know Carmel Valley, they have, kind of a working group that host, a yearly event or evacuation event, and all the 4 or 5 communities are involved, all get to check this off during their renewal. Also, you want to track any risk reduction investments. This includes any time or monetary expenses, such as any landscapers coming through. So kind of doing a survey of everyone in the community to see if anyone has spent anything on getting either a roof, that's a big expense, or if anyone has, gotten a chipper, that's also an expense that could be kind of attributed to this. And then at minimum, each site is required to invest the equivalent of 1 volunteer hour per dwelling unit in the wildfire risk reduction actions each year. So if your site has 100 homes within its boundary, then 100 work hours, or the monetary equivalent. And have some risk reduction activity examples you can go through. I've just talked a little bit about them. So it could also count, coordinating like the wildfire related outreach events. Say you have like a short or a small kind of get together at someone's house to plan the bigger event, then that hour or hour and a half or so that you've spent totally counts towards your risk reduction hours. Attendance to evacuation preparedness meetings or trainings. Yeah, you can reference this and kind of add that to the survey or kind of add that to the discussion that you have with your neighbors. There's also a tracking sheet that I've put here, which you could also hand out to everyone, and everyone can just fill this out, hand it back to you, and then add all those hours and have that counted towards the risk reduction. And then each year you can kind of save it throughout the year. So you can start your renewal application and update that throughout the year. If you want to start it in August and, kind of keep adding that as you go. And then beginning of November, you can go ahead and like turn it in. And it's usually recommended that you turn in the application closer to the date, usually maybe mid-October to early November, just so it shows the most amount of work done for the last year, since the NFPA Firewise program works on like a calendar year system. So the difference between renewals for 3-year and 5-year. So for 3-year, you're really focusing on your action plan. So it's reviewing and updating your specific document of the action plan. And for California, it is specific to CAL FIRE. So if you don't have, okay, well, I think I have it linked somewhere else. It might have changed that link, but checking your community dashboard, making sure that this year is the year that you have to update. So let's say you submitted in 2023, then this year will be the year that you're updating for 2027, 28, and 29, and then updating those years on the document. And so then after that, every 5 years are the community risk assessment. So again, reviewing and updating your community risk assessment, checking the dashboard to verify that this year is the year that you need to update it. You can use your old risk assessment and kind of update the language that's there. If anyone has gotten a new roof, if anyone has gotten gutter guards, or if anyone has enclosed their eaves, you can update that, kind of do the walkthrough that you initially did and update that information in the summary and in the checklist. Or you can fill out a new template, and this is what it should look like. Also, assessment participants, general, kind of updating this if it's changed, etc. For action plan, okay, so this is what should have popped up the first time. So there's a California required 3-year action plan. It is specific to CAL FIRE, so they do make sure that the years here are updated. So if you're, renewing for the 3 years this year, make sure to hit this drop down for 2027 to 2029. And then, those are the two essential kind of first thing that CAL FIRE and NFPA look for that are checked off. So the 3-year action plan document itself is used, and then the years are updated. And with this document, you can fill it in already here, but I do like to point out that you'll need to download it and save it, just so all this information is saved, and you just don't want to close out the tab without saving it first. And then you can open that PDF again and fill that out as you go. Or you could also use a Word document and then fill all this out once you're ready and good to go to download the full copy that you've already completed. And, when you're renewing, it's really about building on previous priorities. And then again, keeping in line 3 to 5 goals per category. And I also want to point out the new kind of mapping tool that's required for new applications, but it's not necessarily required for the new renewals. So you will have to use a mapping tool if you are expanding your boundary. And I added this link to a great, session that was done with the California regional coordinators, Groups IO, and Aaron, who's NFPA staff working on the mapping tool, discusses how to use that, how to add the polygons, since that's the, now new method that they're using for their mapping system. But it's a great informative video. I haven't been able to make a map myself for it. So please just reference this guide and I can help wherever I can. And then as you're going through your plans, you might be kind of out of ideas or trying to brainstorm with your board to see what can be done. So here I put some ideas. This is also grabbed from last year from the South Bay Firewise Partners Groups.io, who are all brainstorming ideas of what could be done, what could be added. So some of them as examples are, creating a kind of rough website to add any events, a written evacuation plan, or like a emergency communication tree, or having, everyone sign up for Alert Monterey, like encouraging people to know their zone. And also the Department of Emergency Management has great handouts for this. They have, little cards that can be handed out to neighbors if you're interested. Also, there's an option for, community members to be trained in defensible space assessments. And, it's a free 2-day training, but it would have to, be through us so we could get kind of an interested list of Firewise communities interested in DSA. So if that's something that Firewise communities in Monterey County are interested in, please reach out to me and we can see what we can do with CAL FIRE's defensible space team to get that done. If you're interested in learning about prescribed burns, you could work with the Central Coast Prescribed Burn Association or the Cooperative Extension. If there's a big, plot of land within your Firewise community, sometimes they'll do trainings or, examples for that. And they're actually doing some burning day, I think, trainings in September. So I will also add that to the slide once we're all done. And they're great tools. They have how to do a burn pile and how to do that safely with the Central Coast Prescribed Burn Association. Also, the coalitions and collaboratives have a kind of training session, but it is fairly long, 10 to 12 weeks, usually throughout January and September, to learn about grants, community collaboration, and more through their community wildfire mitigations best practices training. I know of a few people in the South Bay that have done this training and they found it to be very helpful, but it is more of a lengthy commitment. Also, since Zone 0 legislation is coming, encouraging residents to consider fuel reduction in the first 5 feet, kind of hardscaping around that area. Also encouraging some attendance and participation in the Board of Forestry Zone 0 meetings, as well, just to add that to the renewal plan and that everyone is aware of that legislation coming in. And for every 5 years, so with risk assessments, you will have to update every 5 years, reviewing and updating any information. Again, making sure to update those years and making sure that that's all in line and everything looks the same throughout the whole application. And it is optional to get, the fire professional input and getting such as the professional walkthrough. Since you've already done it that first time, you could do kind of a tally sheet. So I do share this with everyone. This is from the last Firewise 101 on risk assessments. So this tally sheet you could print out with your board members. You can get a group of maybe 2, 3 people interested in doing this and do a kind of drive through if your community is a little bit bigger, or a walk through your community and kind of note what you see. And it goes through every kind of category that you have to check off for the risk assessment. And then you can kind of make a summary from this tally sheet. And generally just focusing on the home conditions and the surrounding ignition zone, such as if you don't have really good access ingress, then noting that in your risk assessment and acknowledging it as maybe another like chipping program that could be done to increase that access for emergency vehicles. And the NFPA actually has a great wildfire risk reduction or wildfire risk assessment tutorial, but I think it's a little bit lengthy. I'll play it here a bit. It has several menus. It goes through kind of understanding every single part of it. And I think you could kind of just hop around to see if you need more information about specifics. I know when I started with the Fire Safe Council, I wasn't too aware of, the soffits or the eaves and general aspects of a home and where to look for that on the home. It might seem kind of obvious now, but at the time I didn't really understand what that looked like and what enclosed eaves really looked like, or the vent screening, how to tell the sizes, things like that. And that tutorial will go over everything mentioned. And then yearly, you have to meet the risk reduction investment criteria, minimum 1 hour per household. If you have 100 houses, then 100 hours need to be met. And you can poll members for hours, or neighbors for hours and money invested in the last year, in the last calendar year or so. So either individually or community work parties. This is also from Fire Safe Council Santa Cruz County. They've made a great time and investment community survey. Then you can use this link to make a copy. And it kind of, again, has a general checklist for people to hand out. And then here you can just update it, October 25th to October 26th. And kind of have this be required to get the new certification. Say you want everyone, you want to have the most people respond to your survey. Say like if you respond to the survey, then after we receive our recognition and receive our renewal of recognition, then I'll hand over the certification that we got, the document that is given after that. And then there's also a great tracking spreadsheet of work done. And I don't think this screen is shared. So it'll look like this. So you can have, names, address, and then the work or hours done. And then this should be updated for 2026 hourly value. And it should be around $33 or so, $34 maybe. And yeah, you can use that as a great tracking tool. Let me go back to screen. And more information, more general information. If your community has grown or more streets want to be added or it's changed its boundary, you will have to update the number of dwelling units across all documents. So it kind of resets it. So that's why we, Fire Safe Council and NFPA say go big the first time. So if you need to expand, that process is easier. Or if you want to do work done in somewhere that's adjacent to the community, then that's already included in your boundary. And if leadership has changed, adding and changing the board member contacts or keeping it the same, kind of making sure that that contact is in for the whole year and that they are willing to, have that year-long commitment until the next renewal. Login questions. Last year, this came up a couple times, and previous leaders can go into the portal and add a new resident leader by clicking on Manage Contacts. and just having it all in place and switching out people if needed, or, adding a new person. If you're having any trouble, contact the NFPA Firewise team, and they'll have the, technical ability to change that up for you. And you are able to skip around your renewal application to kind of check out what you will need to submit. So just using the drop-down menu to kind of navigate quickly, kind of fill out sections that you already know, such as the profile section, the general information, and then seeing what else needs to be done. So this is the resource summary. And I want to point out the renewal workshop handout that was created from the renewals last year. So here's more like a one-page quick overview, kind of step-by-step look at it. And some kind of frequently asked questions that came up last year.
You need a check for sweetie.
To pay for the fire extinguisher thing.
So here, there's some questions, some of them that I want to point out. Kind of, do we record the prior year's activities after recognition? So yeah, totally, any applicable activities, please record those and get them in your application and your renewal to make sure that those are all recorded and your community is acknowledged for the work that has been done. And yeah, another question that's come up again this year is the 5-year renewal any different? And it follows the same process, but the only document that will have to be updated is the risk assessment or the action plan if needed, but most likely only the risk assessment if it's a 5-year renewal. And do I update the dates on my 3-year action plan? If your action plan is not due for renewal, do not touch it. Just, reuse the current action plan that is already in your Firewise community. And if your action plan is due for renewal, which is every 3 years, you must update it and use the new California 3-year action plan template provided by CAL FIRE. And in this case, you will fill all that out and then upload that. And then that will be your new action plan that your community will follow for the next 3 years. And also for last year, the deadline was November 21st. I believe that's the same for this year. It is kind of like the week before Thanksgiving, before the holidays, before everyone gets super busy. You do want to submit it maybe mid-October would be ideal to early November. It's mostly because if you submit it too early, it can get rejected since NFPA kind of sees it like you haven't had the rest of the year to do all the work that you can. You haven't done the most in your community just yet until, say, October. All right, and some more information. This is kind of a blog post or, the page from NFPA about the annual renewal information. And for this one, this is the blog post from the program manager at NFPA about renewals. And there's also kind of a section where you can comment and see if you get your questions answered from the program specialist. And yeah, some more information here. You can check them all out once I've kind of send them out to everyone. And with that, I just put November 2026, but most likely it will be November 21st, 2026, kind of right before the holidays. And I want to share, it's a quick 5-minute video. I won't play it today, but I will share it with everyone at the end. Not at the end, but in the package that I send out with the video recording. It's Rainer Marks, program manager for Fire Adapted Big Sur, who has formulated a great annual renewal tutorial. This is from 2 years ago, but still holds up. It's still a great, 5-minute video that kind of takes you through every step, quick snapshot of what the renewal process should look like. And with that, I know a lot of information was covered. I will just go through the questions that are in the chat first, and then I'll open the floor to anyone else and any other questions. So first question, will the additional materials be linked at the end of the presentation? And yes, I will be linking all the information. I can, put everything in the chat, but sometimes it is easier to, once I publish the slides, everything is updated. I'll send the link to the slides in the email that has the video recording as well, and you can access all the links in the one slide. Can I send the links that are hidden in the slides? So yeah, like all of these will be active in the slide presentation when I send out the email that has the slides and the video. Okay, that was quite a lot of information. Please, like, any more comments or questions are appreciated, or if anyone wants to talk about how their renewal process is going, yeah, just opening the floor to the office hours section.
So I'm raising my hand. This is Henry Brown. I'm
Hello.
from the community of Monterey and new regional coordinator for our community. I'm not aware that we've had a board for Firewise in the past. I'm aware that the person that I'm taking over from was a one-person board, and that's the way I'm set up right now. Is it a requirement that I have more people have an official 3 to 5 person board?
It's generally recommended, so all work is kind of evenly distributed. But if you are the one resident leader doing all the work, then, or, kind of looking over the program and the documentation, I've, heard of that before as well.
Okay.
And I see David has his hand up for a question.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I'm from down in San Mateo County in the town of Hillsborough. We have two Firewise organizations here combined because we have 4,200 plus homes. And so we had to make a deal, 2,500 or less per Firewise district. So I essentially do the same thing twice. So it's a bit of a burden. But the thing I have found over the years, we started this in 2019, was that often what the NFPA and what CAL FIRE asks for are very different subjects. And it's like satisfying two masters when we don't really know what they want, especially at CAL FIRE, because there's new persons virtually every year. And it's a bit of a chore. However, they've been very helpful, and eventually we work it out. I myself, we know that a town, a municipality cannot be the Firewise organization, and we are, but we have worked very hard with our town, and now they help us pay for chipping, where the town-wide, those that are in WUI and not in WUI have the same building information come from the building and planning department, which is based on Part 7 of Title 24. And we get a lot more cooperation, so we are slowly be able to act as though we were a much smaller HOA, but get a lot done. I'm aggressive as a leader, but getting less young every year. Thank you again today. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, of course. And that's really, incredible to hear that there's a lot of collaboration going on in the area.
It's our mantra. It was my goal from day one. We got the fact that you're having this program through the Denise Dania at the San Mateo County. She's been a very helpful source. I can't say enough kudos for her, about her. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for comments.
Pleasure.
Yeah, any more comments or questions? I know this was more of a general overview and a kind of overload of information. So the next sessions that I'm planning, so in September, kind of looking at hands-on kind of looking technical assistance for that more in depth and kind of creating a checklist reference for communities to kind of reference when going through that. Like for your action plan, have you updated the years? Or for your risk assessment, have you, gone over each section? Have you done the tally sheet, etc.? Having more of a handout reference, paper reference for people to look at. And then in October, when it gets closer to the date, I'm looking at doing general office hours, bring your renewals, and see if we can update that. And because that has more sensitive information, looking at people's renewals and having that technical assistance, it might not be recorded. So if you can make it, I suggest that you do and bring your documents in hand to kind of review those. And yeah, I think David is also right with each year kind of CAL FIRE cycles through new people for approving applications. And last year, the woman who was assigned to Monterey's kind of area, or the Monterey County and San Benito County, she gave a lot of great feedback before the deadline. So a lot of Firewise communities that might have gotten a kickback were able to fix that. She returned the application, gave it back, and the fixes were done, submitted it again, and then approval, good to go. But I'm not too sure if that will be the case this year. But having that done kind of in mid-October is the best bet to maybe be able to resubmit. And if you have any errors or issues, or kind of something's not acceptable, etc., if there's any typos or anything small like that.
May I add something else? This is David.
Yeah, of course.
I failed to say that we also our monthly board meetings include our local fire service, Central County Fire, who also that David Pucci is the fire chief there, is also very active at CAL FIRE, and his assistant chief came from CAL FIRE. And all these little things help a great deal. Our whole goal for everybody here is to coordinate with your fire service, with the municipality you're in, because you're only as safe as all the neighbors around us. So it sounds like a lot more work, but frankly, it's worth it because we begin to trust each other. And
Yeah.
that's really what it's all about with this unknown enemy, not enemy, but partner of ours, the insurance industry. I'll get off again. I'm sorry for coming back again.
No worries.
My hand's
Yeah,
going
thank you for your
down.
comments.
Yeah, hands going down.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining. I think that might have been the last comment in all the comments I have for today. I know I have a lot of links, but I assure you all of this will be in the email that I sent out, that I send out to everybody, usually by the end of this week. And yeah, our next session will be September 21st. So if you're able to, please attend, and we'll go over a little bit more detail and yeah, get you ready for resubmission and renewals. And I will now stop my share and recording.
So Jennifer, I had a question.
Yeah.
This could be offline, I guess.